Death Valley is the lowest point in North America. It's a vast, unforgiving expanse of salt flats, rocky canyons, and sun-scorched dunes. The temperatures here frequently soar to record-breaking highs, offering zero refuge, making it a landscape where even highly experienced outdoor enthusiasts can find themselves entirely at the mercy of the terrain. On April 3, 2021, two seasoned wilderness explorers, Alex Lofgren and Henkel, left California for what they fully expected to be a routine getaway. They planned to explore a few well-known sites in the valley before finding a secluded spot to camp under the stars. They were driving a Subaru Forester, equipped to handle off-road conditions. But as they navigated the unpaved path of Gold Valley Road, they hit a jagged rock embedded in the dirt. Two sharp pops shattered the quiet. The rock had simultaneously torn through both passenger side tires. They had one spare tire. There was no cell reception, no shade, and the nearest paved road was 22 miles away. In an instant, the sheer scale of the park turned a simple mechanical failure into a lethal trap. With limited options, they slept in the car and woke at 4 a.m. to execute a new plan. They left a handwritten note in the Subaru detailing their route, packed a day bag with water and a survival kit, and set off in the dark toward Mormon Point, hoping to find assistance along a recognized trail. As the morning wore on, the physical environment shifted violently. The relatively open desert trail narrowed into a slot canyon, choking their path with towering vertical rock walls and jagged inclines. Roughly a mile into this treacherous stretch, the route simply disappeared. They had reached a 70-foot waterfall that plunged straight down a sheer cliff. Continuing forward required ropes, climbing harnesses, and gear they simply didn't have. Trying to find a way down, Alex began scouting the rock face for natural footholds. He moved carefully, but soon hit a point with zero ledges. He called up to Emily that he was coming back. Then he lost his grip. Before she could react, Alex slipped and plunged 70 feet down the face of the waterfall. Emily immediately spotted a narrow crevice along the opposite canyon wall. She wedged herself between the rocks, inching her way down until the handholds vanished entirely. Suspended 30 feet above the canyon floor, she dropped her backpack, took a breath, and let go. She landed hard on her feet, hearing the sharp, clean snap of her ankle breaking upon impact. She forced herself upright and limped on a shattered ankle to where Alex had fallen. His injuries were too severe. Alex passed away there in the canyon on Easter Sunday. Emily was now completely alone. Taking stock of her surroundings, the geographical reality of her situation set in. She was severely injured and stranded on a canyon ledge. Above her was a 70-foot vertical cliff. Below her was another impassable 100-foot drop. She was entirely hidden from the outside world, trapped in a stone prison. The canyon walls provided brief shade, but they also created a deadly microclimate. Every day at exactly 1:30 p.m., the sun peeked through the narrow opening above, baking the ledge. With the intense heat radiating off the rock, hyperthermia and severe dehydration were imminent threats. To fight the heat, Emily engineered a small water management system. The nearby waterfall wasn't a roaring cascade, but a steady trickle. She gathered rocks to construct a tiny dam, pooling enough water to soak her towel and clothes, which allowed her to actively regulate her core body temperature in the blistering afternoon sun. Her primary defense against the sun was a single item from their survival kit, a thin, metallic Myla emergency blanket. She propped it up with rocks to reflect the intense desert rays, creating a crude but vital sunshade. The Mylar wasn't built for constant wind and jagged rocks, and it tore easily. Every single day, she spent nearly an hour meticulously stitching the fragile material back together, using Band-Aids from her kit, desperate to maintain her only shield against the afternoon heat. She also made a critical, instinctual medical decision. Despite the pain, she refused to take the shoe off her broken foot. By keeping it tightly laced, the shoe acted as a compression splint, preventing catastrophic swelling that likely saved her foot from permanent damage. To defend her mind, she relied on a solar charger. There was zero cell service, but she used the power exclusively to write daily journal entries on her phone. She repeatedly typed variations of the phrase, "We will be rescued," asserting her survival when all physical odds pointed the other way. Emily secured her life through a series of deliberate, daily tasks, damming retrickle, maintaining the shade, and managing her injury. It was a calculated engineering of a microenvironment against a climate designed to kill. 4 days later, the search crews outside the canyon finally caught a break. They found a backcountry log Alex had signed before their departure. That breadcrumb led them down Gold Valley Road to the abandoned Subaru, where Emily's handwritten note pointed them straight toward Mormon Point. On the morning of April 8th, Emily heard the hum of helicopter blades. She grabbed her patched-up mylar blanket and waved it frantically. From the air, the crew spotted a tiny reflective glint flashing from deep within the shadows of the Slot Canyon, but the helicopter pulled away. The terrain was too tight for a standard extraction. Emily watched her rescue vanish, forcing her to endure one more grueling day and night on the ledge, before a drone hovered overhead at 7:30 p.m., beaming a spotlight down to officially confirm she was alive. The following morning, the deep thump of heavy rotor blades echoed through the rock as a highly specialized Navy search and rescue team arrived, equipped with a hoist mechanism designed for vertical extractions. Getting a line down to her was incredibly dangerous. The violent downdraft from the helicopter blades ricocheted unpredictably off the tight canyon walls. These aggressive rotor winds kept violently pushing the hoist cable and the descending rescuers off course, threatening to slam them into the jagged cliffs. For 20 agonizing minutes, the crew battled gravity and wind, fighting inch by inch until they finally reached the ledge, secured Emily into a stretcher, and lifted her out of the abyss. It required millions of dollars of aerospace machinery and highly trained military personnel to pull her from that canyon, but what actually kept her alive long enough for them to arrive was a few dollars of foil, a handful of Band-Aids, and a trickling stream of water. Emily was airlifted directly to a hospital for emergency surgery on her shattered ankle. She had survived the physical ordeal, but she now carried the immense weight of Alex's death. Alex was a veteran who deeply believed in the healing power of the outdoors. In the wake of the tragedy, Emily and those who loved him channeled his memory, pushing a movement that traveled from the isolated canyons of California all the way to Washington, D.C. Their efforts succeeded. In December 2021, a piece of federal legislation Alex had fiercely supported was renamed in his honor and signed into law, the Alexander Lofgren Veterans and Parks Act. The law guarantees that all veterans and Gold Star families are granted free, lifetime access to every United States national park and federal recreational land. This map visualizes the scale of that impact. A single origin point in a remote Death Valley Canyon branches out to highlight a vast network of protected lands spanning the entire country. Millions of acres are now permanently accessible to those who served. The improvised tools that kept Emily alive, the Band-Aids and the Mylar, eventually gave way to permanent federal law. Today, the legislation bearing Alex's name ensures that his belief in the healing power of the wilderness remains a reality for veterans across the country.